Mic check one. Mic check one.
All right. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Hamilton County Commission Board meeting, September 26, 2024. We'll start with introductions on the dot.
Christy Rischel, Assistant Clerk.
Leslie Hervey, Clerk to the Board.
Stephanie Summerall Dumas, Commissioner.
Good afternoon. I'm County Commissioner Denise Treehouse.
Jeff Ludo, County Administrator.
Patrick Dressing, Assistant Prosecuting Attorney.
And I'm Hamilton County Commission Board President Alicia Reese. We start every meeting with a silent prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join us, and please let's keep all the folks in prayer. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
Second.
Commissioner Reese,
Yes.
Commissioner Treehouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes.
Thank you. Before we get started, we had a special update. I'd ask Mr. Aludo to bring us up to date and forward. And then we'll have Nick Crosley. He'll set the tone, and Nick Crosley will come up and give us an update of what we all have seen and been concerned about right in our backyard at Hamilton County. And want to thank all the first responders. I know each of us commissioners will have something to say toward it, but wanted to have a real update on what's going on. We've seen national news and all those kind of things, so we wanted to hear it, the folks on the ground. So, Mr. Ludo, did you want to?
Just very briefly, only to just indicate, Commissioner, you're correct. Earlier this week on Tuesday, there was a styrene leak from a tank car out in the Whitewater Township, Cleves area, out on the intersection of State Route 128 and 50. I'm going to turn it over to Nick Crosley, who's been leading the Emergency Management Agency response and oversight of that. I will just say up front that I want to thank Nick and his team and all of the ancillary agencies that pull together. This is why we do emergency management planning in this county the way we do. To see all of these agencies come together, whether it's Nick's staff from public health, environmental services, the sheriff, the engineer, Whitewater Township, federal, state agencies, all pulling in the same direction, all the public safety, fire agencies pulling in the same direction to make sure this situation gets resolved as quickly as possible, and that the public is made aware of everything as quickly as possible, was really good to see this put into execution. I also want to thank all of the media folks, Bridget, Amanda, Chris at Public Health, who played a huge role in this as well. But Nick, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you for all the oversight on this. Again, as you go on to these calls on a several-hour basis, it's just, there's 40 to 60 people on these calls, all coordinated extremely effectively by emergency management to make sure that the right information is getting out and that the right actions are being taken. So, Nick, I'll turn it over to you with that bit of thanks and to update on the current situation.
Sure, thank you. Again, Nick Crossley, I'm the county's emergency management director. So as you know, the first thing I want to say is that the event was obviously unfortunate that it happened. Our heart goes out, and all of our hard work is for the residents of Hamilton County that were impacted by this event. And we continue to ensure that they're helped moving forward with any consequences they may have suffered from this event. So just to give you just a quick timeline, so about 12:45 on Tuesday, we get automatic notifications from the Hamilton County Communications Center. Recognize Andy Knapp, who's in the back of the room. He was actually on scene for the entirety of the event, helping with their incident command and public information function. I also want to recognize my staff, Morgan Peterson, who's our Assistant Director of Operations, Ryan McCune, Assistant Director of Planning and Preparedness, and Thomas Johnson, who's one of our planners, helped throughout the event. So ironically, I brought Morgan with me just to experience giving one of these briefings, and Ryan and Thomas are actually headed over to the Clerk of Courts to help with continuity of operations planning. So the work continues. So by 12:45, we were notified of a possible incident. Obviously, well, not obviously to most people, it takes a minute to figure out what's going on. A lot of times we just get a report of a smell of gas, and then we need to figure out what that smell is. Within about an hour or so, we're talking to the incident commander. We realize that it is a rail car that, for one way or another, the pressure relief valve had opened, and this gas, if you will, was releasing into the atmosphere. And so that pressure release valve is there in order to ensure that the tank, in case the chemical overheats, that it doesn't blow up. So in the end, what we realized is the valve worked as intended, which was to release the pressure. However, gases, the fumes are coming out, the gas is leaking out the top. The firefighters and the hazmat team started putting water on it to cool down the tank. The valve did close or open and finally closed permanently at 7 o'clock the night of the incident and has not reopened and obviously has been moved at this point. Throughout the time period, our job in emergency management is obviously we coordinate countywide, state, and federal assets to support local communities when they experience an event like this. So we immediately started communicating with the incident commander, their public information officer, and Andy, Director Knapp, who was on scene, so that we could figure out what do they need. One of the main things that we offer at the county and at the agency is we do emergency public information for residents who were impacted by a disaster. And we have multiple systems to do that, and we did utilize those systems. Initially, again, as you go through an incident, you're sizing up the incident, what could be the impact. Initially, we did request that residents shelter in place around the event because, again, we were trying to figure out what exactly is going on, will it end, what do we need to do. When we realized that the temperature of the car was pretty high and that we might have a risk of explosion, we then recommended to the incident commander, who agreed, that we issue an evacuation order. We have a guidebook that explains to us worst case scenario, here's what you need to do. We follow that guidebook, and so it recommended a half mile radius evacuation, and we then put out that order that requests to residents that they evacuate the area. And then with that, we had phenomenal cooperation from the communities impacted, which were, we've all heard about Whitewater Township is impacted, but Miami Township was impacted, and of course the village of Cleves residents were impacted by this event. Phenomenal cooperation from the Ohio Department of Transportation, as well as the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office in closing the roads. We put up, in some cases, solid barriers, and ODOT came out immediately and put those out. And then those entry points were managed 24/7 by the Sheriff's Office throughout the event. We then started coordinating any other assets that were needed. So we established contact with the state and federal EPA agency. They responded. We worked with the IC on bringing in drone coverage so we could try to look over the event, see what was going on, see if we could tell the temperature of the car. As time went on, again, we're just sitting there, and then we engaged the administrator's office with public information support. So oftentimes, most communities do not have full-time PR people, if you will, public relations or PIOs, and so we have worked hard at the county to have a cadre of people we can call to help our communities, and so that's what we did. So Bridget and her office and Krista Heisen, and then my office started putting together press releases to put out to the public because we believe as soon as we know the chemical, let's release the name of the chemical. As soon as we know what the possible impacts are, tell people. People just want to know what is the threat and what do I need to do to protect myself, and we got that information out as soon as possible. We used Alert Hamilton County. We used a lot of people call it reverse 911. We called all the landlines, and we also used our wireless emergency alerts, which are the notifications on every, supposed to be every cell phone. So we used all of our tools available to us to notify the public of an event. And then we started coordinating with the impacted governments so that they could also help us magnify the information to the local communities and Three Rivers and things like that. So we were at the EOC until about 11:30 on Tuesday night. Again, just monitoring it, trying to figure out what to do. We have hazmat expertise in our agency. As you know, we provide training annually, dozens of training to our local firefighters and fire departments on how to handle hazardous materials incidences. And so we have an expert on staff. So we were consulting with him throughout this event. We came back into the office at 7 o'clock the next morning and started communicating with the incident command again. Our goal was to stabilize the car. First of all, our goal was to protect life and the environment. And so we had no We had no injuries from this event. We had no deaths from this event, and we have no property damage from this event that we're aware of. And so, again, the car had sealed that night and had not reopened. What we realized over time, working with the chemists from both the government and INEOS, which was the owner of the styrene, was that eventually the chemical, and I'm not a chemist, but I'm going to use layman's terms, started to gel, and then it starts to basically form into a plastic. So it becomes actually theoretically more and more stable than cars which are just handling liquid styrene. And so once we determined that, we started working with them on a plan to move the car. Because in our communication to the incident command, if the car is safe to move, we need to move the car, and we need to get these people back in their homes. And so at the same time, we're working with them to do air monitoring. So we have air monitoring reports starting soon after the event started that show no harmful contaminants in the air. We have water monitoring going on, both public and private. Hamilton County Public Health has been and will continue to provide no-cost water testing. But Cleves and everybody else reports no contaminants in their water. The water is safe to drink. And we, since this event, so we finally got the car moved yesterday afternoon. We notified you when we were able to move the car, and we lifted the evacuation order immediately and starting letting residents back in their house. So that's where we're at through the event. So we were helping. Basically, my job is to provide advice and guidance to the elected leaders and the appointed leaders of the various impacted communities. My agency's job is to provide these various tasks, so public information, and coordinate county resources, which and everybody who participates in our stuff hears me say it all the time, that our job is to continue to do our job and then do it on steroids to help our communities. And everybody with the county and our other partners stepped up during this event without a problem. All of our activation, everything else worked. So we've gotten that part settled. Now moving forward, we met with our community. We met with Whitewater and Miami Township this morning. Cleves was not available, but they're following up with Cleves. So at this point, it is the residents talking to the railroad about compensation for any harm they may have, or any needs that they have. And so my guidance to the leadership of the communities impacted was that they create their list of things they'd like to see the railroad do and present it in writing to the railroad representatives, and then get the response in writing back from them. If it's positive, great. If it's not, what else can we do to help you? And what else is that is we turn it over to possibly the governor or our federal representatives, both of which we've communicated with all of our federal and state representatives during this event, and Ohio EMA. And so right now, our experience working with the railroad is that they have set up a 1-800 helpline. They have been on site at Whitewater Township's community center, taking registrations for compensation. And they are offering, if somebody wants air monitoring or wants their house tested, they'll go up and do that. If we've asked for them to figure out how to do soil testing if it's requested by the resident. And then, of course, we've asked for, so what our instructions to the communities to talk to the railroad today is meet the resident where they are. And so a lot of times being open 8 to 5 is not helpful to the residents who are impacted. So as you know, most Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and also a lot of people work 8 to 5. And so we've asked them to work with the railroad to provide evening and weekend hours so people can come and register that way. They also have an 800 number. They can also call 211, who can answer general questions for them and direct them to the various lines, to ask for soil testing if they need it, reimburse them for their groceries they may have had to throw out, anything else that they can link to this event. My feeling is right now that the railroad has been very cooperative, and I anticipate that continuing to mitigate this event. I've been asked about the investigation and things like that. From talking to the experts on scene, the car operated as intended, as in the release valve open and the release valve closed. We've based on how it worked, we think that's what happened. There will be a separate investigation of what happened to the car and working with the owners of the car and the track, the railroad, and INEOS on what happened, why did this happen, and we'll follow up on that in the future. But again, we are in contact with all elected officials and the community leaders, addressing anything they need. Anything they can't get themselves, it's our job to help facilitate bringing those resources in, or giving them a reason why we can't do the resource. But generally speaking, between county resources, state resources, the EPA coming in, we've been able to meet most people's needs. And then now it's just sort of the long-term concerns. There was a press conference last night. We talked to a few residents who had these concerns. That's why we asked for soil testing, because somebody was concerned about soil. We had an extensive conversation about water. We have residents who haul their water to their homes, and they have their own cistern, and they get it from underground aquifers, and we gave them directions on how to have that tested and get reimbursed for that testing for those private owners. And then Hamilton County changed their protocols, and they're now testing any well they're asked to test at no cost to the resident, to ensure them. But as far as we know, there's been no contamination to the ground, and there's no damage in the air. I just got a report here a few minutes ago that showed last night there was no contaminants in the air, none. Styrene comes under a certain class called VOC. I'm not an expert, but the VOC level was 0, so there was no contaminants. But as in my talking with the railroad and expressing to them that they need to step up and meet the needs of the community, they seem receptive to that. And I've again been providing my advice to the township and the village leaders on how to communicate with the railroad, and if they need help getting what they need. As you know, Ohio is very sensitive to this issue. And the governor has been informed, and he's following it closely, as are our federal representatives and our state representatives. They're the local state representatives.
Thank you very much. I'm sure we want to continue to get updates as we move forward. And we want to thank, I'm sure there's others that should be listed, but definitely want to thank those involved, yourself, Nick Crossley, of course, our 911 center, and Andy Knapp, all the first responders, sheriff's office, our county communications office with Bridget, hazmat team, Indiana, Ohio Railway was involved, Cleves Waterworks, Whitewater Township Fire Department, ODOT, EPA, Hamilton County Public Health, and the list goes on.
Mm-hmm.
We just gave you a proclamation maybe 2 weeks ago, talking about how to stay ready so we don't have to get ready. And it shows that under the leadership of our county and counties, as well as the state, that we had everybody from local to county to state to federal, everybody's ready to move in quickly without a chaotic situation. It was a chaotic situation in terms of the response team was not chaotic.
Correct.
So I want to thank you for that and appreciate Jeff keeping us as a board apprised. I do want to also thank, I did get a call from, and I'm sure all of us did, but I got a call from Sherrod Brown's office, Senator Sherrod Brown's office. What else can we do? Talked directly with Congressman Landsman yesterday, and they certainly want to look into the investigation of how did this happen, and to make sure this does not happen again. I think the first thing I want to put out, if you would address, is, well, first thing people thought was East Palestine.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about this is not the same situation?
Right. So hazmat gets moved every day in the United States, truck, rail, whatever it is. And so this one, we wanted to clarify immediately, was not a derailment. There was no explosion. There was a threat. I mean, it's a volatile chemical, right? We were very open and transparent about that and telling the public, which is why we had all the apparatus out there that was unmanned. They just basically set up the automatic stream. And we did not have anybody hurt from this event. And obviously the length of the environmental damage you had in East Palestine, we didn't have here. And so we wanted to make sure that was clear, not only to the public, but also to any of our partners out there. Because once you hear train, you automatically think derailment, and then you automatically think catastrophic. So we think about that in case we need to ramp up our response. But we wanted to make sure people knew, here's the situation, here's what's going on, which is why we started communicating with the media immediately. We answer call. When they call, we answer the call. We work to clarify both their information that's correct and their information that may not be correct. And then, of course, we also dealt with residents called us too. And so we worked with them until the best we could. We explained to them what was going on. So as I told News Nation yesterday afternoon, to me, except for the fact that we had a chemical release, there was no comparison to the unfortunate incident in East Palestine.
Okay. And then also, you mentioned that, because I'm concerned about the residents that, like you said, had to evacuate. Some had to go in the hotels, extra expense. Schools were shut down. What is that process? And can you tell me who the rail company is? And you said there's a process where residents are to go, I guess?
Yes.
And then you're going to have a report or something?
Well, so immediately within hours of the event, the railroad had set up a voucher system to go to local hotels. So we were prepared to open a shelter in Whitewater Township for anybody, and Miami Township if it needed. So we had the Red Cross on standby. We had our pet trailer ready to go in case we needed to help people house household pets. But within hours, the railroad had vouchers ready to go at 3 local hotels. And so we sent that information out as widely as we could. We gave it to the communities for them to send out. And then if somebody needed a place to stay, they could go there and get the voucher, and the railroad is paying for the hotels. And then, as far as I know, they're still paying for the hotels. I don't know how long, but I think they paid for them last night too. So we'll get an update on that. So all of that being taken care of, and basically it's a form you fill out with the railroad so they can track who they're giving resources to. It does not. There's been some talk. It asks you to sign away your rights to sue. It does not do that. It's just literally, if we're going to give you money, we'd like to know who we're giving it to, and verifying that you do live in the impact zone, which was literally what they're considered is the evacuation zone, because again, you could smell it around the spot, but then eventually it starts to dissipate. So that's who they're focused on, is people in the immediate evacuation area, and it could be up to 700 people that were in the immediate evacuation zone. So we can just use publicly available tools on population estimates. But I know that I've learned that Hooven is a very close-knit community, and they've had a lot of challenges with some environmental issues out there, and so they're just especially sensitive. So that's why we're asking the railroad to do everything you can to mitigate their concerns about this.
What's the company's name?
So the owner of the yard is Central Railroad of Indiana. So what happens is you've got a company within a company. So they're basically sister companies. So the one that you guys mentioned is this one, and then Central Railroad of Indiana is this one. But they are effectively sister companies.
Okay. And air does travel. I got a call from some people in Green Township, and they said they were smelling something. I don't know if it was this, because I don't know how you contain air.
Right.
But they were saying going toward that Blue Rock area,
Yeah.
they were
So
smelling something.
as
Is there a smell out there?
yeah, there was. So as Dr. Phelan explained last night, you have an incredible ability to be sensitive to that. Again, scientific terms escape me. And the smell doesn't necessarily mean that you've been exposed to any chemical. And as we explained last night, the true harm from this chemical is if you stuck your head in the stream and sat there. So being a half mile away and smelling it, that's why we've also asked them to offer the medical checkups or offer a way for them to go somewhere and get a medical checkup at no cost. So I've advised them to ask for that as well. So get blood tests, whatever it might be. But again, I'm not a chemist, but the overall exposure risk is very minimal.
Okay. All right, thank you. Vice President Driehaus.
Thank you. Thank you, Nick, for coming in. We've been in contact, all of us have, with the administrator and with yourself to get updates as we've gone. So I do want to also recognize the collaboration between yourself, the sheriff, Andy Knapp with the comms facility, all the local first responders, our comms department, the list goes on, and the local officials out in these communities who I know were in the thick of it. I talked to a couple of them and said, hey, what can we do? And they said, we just need a place to stay. And I said, oh, okay, because it was being so well managed with the facility open in Whitewater Township, and then all of you paying very close attention 24/7 to what was happening and doing what you needed to close the roads and let people know what the status was. I applaud you for getting information out as quickly as possible. I do think that's where some of the concern generally comes in. and people don't know what's going on, and they think the worst, obviously. And in this particular case, the worst did not happen. And so I am very grateful that you got that information out as quickly as you did. I've got one question for you, and as I think Commissioner Reese alluded to this, it would be nice to have an update maybe in a few weeks so that we have a better sense of how things went generally, and make sure that the railroad is responding, as you have said, to the constituents' concerns about their water, about the air, about some health conditions if they have them. But I've got one question related to the kind of a broader view of this. So as the tank or the railway car was moving through the community, was it stopped when this took place?
Yes, so oftentimes, and you see this all over the country, they have these side tracks and they store cars. So in this case, as I understand it, as the railroad explained to us, the INEOS has a large yard and down in Addiston was full. And so these cars were waiting at the side yard before they could move on down the track. And this is a common practice across the United States when moving basically almost any freight, is that it can sit in a side yard for 4, 5, 6 days while it waits to move. And that's the case. This had been there, I think, for 5 days.
So it sat on the railroad's property?
Yes, on the railroad's property, not INEOS's property. Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I was curious about that because it's never a good situation to have the car sitting for a long length of time waiting to get disposed of at INEOS. So
I would not disagree.
I was just curious, and I just was curious about that. I didn't know what the situation was. I hadn't heard any reports on that. So thank you for the information. You've just reported that anybody from any of these affected communities have been contacted, or rather have a way to contact someone if they have additional concerns.
Correct.
So that was my only question, kind of moving forward, that people have the resources they need to answer any of their questions.
Yeah, so we continue to update what we call our frequently asked questions. We use 211 as sort of that go-to to answer these questions based on information we give them. If they run into any challenges, they call us and we then address the issue. There's the 800 number that's been advertised for the railroad. We work through multiple layers, so we've sent that information out to people who are part of our system. And we also work with the community to get it out to their residents. So I've personally talked to the mayor of Cleves, personally talked to the trustees in Miami Township, and personally talked to trustees in Whitewater. So we're asking them to distribute that information to their residents as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Dumas?
Thank you. Thank you, Nick and Andy, for coming out. I won't belabor this, even though this is an extremely important issue, and I thank you guys. I watched the press conferences. I don't know if I missed any or not, but I listened as a citizen, really not as a commissioner, because I was getting information on my phone. And just feedback for you and Andy, in representing Hamilton County, you presented the information confidently, clearly, concisely, consistently, and conclusively. And so I think for those that are watching and didn't know all that technical stuff, it was very clear where you were headed, what the next step was, when the next press conference was going to be, and you represented Hamilton County well, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. I just like to say, Andy and I we were both residents of Hamilton County. We work here. I've been here 10 years in February. Andy's been here his whole life. And so we are committed to the residents of Hamilton County, and we practice and train for this all the time. And it happens more often than people realize. It doesn't necessarily, it just happened to, the news coverage was on the same day they were negotiating the settlement for East Palestine. I mean, so, in our world, that's two colliding things that come together. And so I think the final message to our residents is that we analyze what hazards we face, including hazardous materials. It is a low probability, high impact hazard in our verbiage. We practice for how we're going to respond to it, how we're going to mitigate it, contain it, and eliminate it. And then we practice how can we take care of residents who might be impacted. We can't stop the chemicals come through via the various transportation, because the styrene is used to make plastics for all kinds of products, if I'm using that term correctly. And so, but our job is to know that it's a hazard And our job is to make sure that we are training, and I want to thank the board because you support training our first responders, not only in supporting our agency, but we have a hazardous materials coordinator who's funded not only by federal state funds, but also we augment that funding so that we can bring in the appropriate training for our first responders. So we take this very seriously. It's called a disaster for a reason. It's going to be chaotic, but we use this, and we will be conducting, working with our community and the other responders, a review, what we call an after action, because we always have room to improve and do better. And so we will be producing that, and I'll be presenting it to you whenever we get that done. So that'll be done here in the next few months. So it's what worked, what didn't work, and how can we improve.
Thank you, Commissioner Dumas.
Yeah, and Nick, if you can confirm for me about the railroad cars are not mandated to let us know what's inside of them. So it could happen, real, God forbid, but we don't know all the time what's in those cars.
Correct, except any car with hazardous materials has a code on it. And then we have an app that we have access to called Ask Rail. You have to have a reason to have access to it. We can enter that code, and it gives us all the information about what's in that car. And so on any car hauling hazardous materials, we don't know in advance.
Yeah,
that
that's
would
what I'm
be
saying. Yeah.
nonstop notifications and what exactly am I,
Sure.
you know, but so our job is, and that way when we walk up, oh, there's the code, or we use binoculars, and we don't, okay, and then we have a whole guidebook protocol that's been developed over with years and years of research that guides us on how to respond to that incident.
Great, thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And like I said, we'll have you back so we can find out, you know, have the residents been helped by the railroad company? And then if we could also add maybe to our website, so when we get calls, there is a smell out there, but it doesn't mean that they're going to be affected.
Yeah.
So just wanted to have that on our website as well, in case people smell something.
Yes, we have so our website's part of your website.
Yeah.
And you go to ours, and there is a styrene event page where we have all this stuff there. And we have published all the air quality reports, everything we have, all the raw data. It's all public.
Okay.
They can go in, and if they can read it, they're smarter than I am. I see the zeros, and I know that the zeros I understand.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. We wanted to make sure this was a major issue. Next, we have a very important update and presentation by Cradle Cincinnati Champions of Change. And let's see who's going to come up and make the presentation. Welcome. Introduce yourself, because I know Ms. Shockley's not here, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Unfortunately, Dr. Smith is feeling ill today, so she couldn't join us.
Okay. Well, go ahead and introduce yourself. Welcome.
Thank you. I am Crystal Brown, Community Program Coordinator with Cradle Cincinnati and Queens Village. Today we are here. I want to welcome you all for the Champions of Change Award ceremony. Cradle Cincinnati began in 2013 with a mission of supporting families in effort of eliminating or reducing the infant mortality rate and celebrating every baby's first birthday in Hamilton County. We believe it's not one organization or sole person that can tackle such an issue as large as infant mortality. That is one of the reasons why we choose to partner with other organizations and community members to provide this effort in supporting families. We are here today to celebrate some of the hard work and dedication of a few of the community members and people from organizations throughout Hamilton County that is working on this important effort of ours. I will hand it over to Jess, who will go over some of the data before we announce some of the nominations.
Hi, my name is Jessica with Crystal, also with Cradle Cincinnati. We brought a slide deck today. You have all the slides. We are going to do a shortened version of that, and hopefully we'll be able to do the full version at a future day and time. But we did want to share some important milestones from Cradle Cincinnati's work. So I can't remember, Crystal, if you said, but Cradle Cincinnati started in 2013. We've been around for 11 years now. One of our earliest champions was the late Commissioner Todd Fortune, who was one of our 3 founders of Cradle Cincinnati. And when Cradle Cincinnati first started, families were 70% more likely to lose a baby here in Hamilton County than nationwide. And Black families were disproportionately impacted by infant death. We are happy to say that as of last year, we are now on par with the national average. So we went from 70% more likely to lose a baby nationwide, and now we're right on par with the national average. And that was a milestone that many in our community and many of our partners felt like was not achievable. That was a really big goal for our community, and is only due to the work of our entire community working in the entire, moving in the same direction to support moms and babies. So our first big milestone last year was that we are now on a par with the national average. We also saw a new low infant mortality rate for our community. You can see up on the slide, when we first started, we hovered around 9 infant deaths for every 1,000 live births. We are now at 5.5 infant deaths per 1,000 live births. So that is a drastic decrease and one we are incredibly proud of. The other big milestone that we saw in our community last year was that for the first time ever on record, the Black infant mortality rate decreased to a single digit. So our rate decreased to 9 deaths per 1,000 live births. As you can see, in previous years, we went from anywhere from 19 deaths down to maybe 11. So this too is a really big achievement. A lot of our partners are focused specifically on supporting Black moms and Black babies, and we are seeing real progress from our community. The statisticians at Cincinnati Children's tell us that this is statistically significant, which means that it didn't happen by chance. Something is happening in our community that is leading to this change. And once again, we want to highlight that this is the result of the work of everyone in this room, including the winners that we will be recognizing in just a few moments. Here are some big wins from our work. I'm not going to go through all of them, but once again, wanted to highlight Todd Portune. He is a real reason why we celebrate Champions for Change every single year, especially here with the Hamilton County Commissioners, and we wish he was here today to hear about all this progress and hear about all the wonderful work that's happening. From our winners, we do like to highlight that Cradle Cincinnati, of course, is a partnership and wouldn't be what it is without the help of the city and county health departments, as well as the other organizations that are listed up on this slide, including Cincinnati Metropolitan Housing Authority, JFS, Ohio Department of Medicaid, Hamilton County, and so on. And with that, I'll give it back to Crystal. Champions for Change. Yes.
Okay, so we are here to announce our 2024 Champions for Change.
I can do it.
Yeah, 'cause I'm
Sorry. The reason we do Champions for Change in September is because September is Infant Mortality Awareness Month.
I'm sorry, they can't hardly hear you. Thanks.
Yes, the reason we do Champions for Change every September is because September is Infant Mortality Awareness Month. This is a really great time for us to bring light to the issue of infant mortality and maternal and infant health in our community, and a fantastic time to recognize all the work that's occurring. So that's what we're going to do in a moment. I'm handing it over to you, Commissioner Reese.
Okay, thank you. Before we go to the Champions of Change, though, those are some remarkable numbers and do the commissioners have anything that they'd like to ask or say before we go into the great work of Cradle Cincinnati?
Well, I thank you all for the presentation. It is so gratifying to see that trend in those numbers. If Todd Portune were here, he would say how proud he was of all the work that you all are doing. This is a partnership. It was always meant to be a partnership, and the decreases in infant mortality are dramatic. And so thank you for what you're doing to save lives in this community. It really is astounding. And I just want to, say thank you to all those that are part of the partnership.
Commissioner?
Thank you. This is so important, and I thank you for all your hard work, all that's been done. One death is too many. You guys have really reduced the numbers, and in a civilized world as we have, to even have those low numbers are just too much for me, for you, for society. I understand that there are mothers that have issues, and we may have to, we may end up losing a child, but I'm hoping that we just don't even see it with all this modern technology that we have, and also the variance between Black and white moms. So thank you so much for all that you do.
Thank you. Okay, well, of course, we want to welcome everyone. The issue of infant mortality and also now Black maternal health is huge, and we're very excited to have the opportunity to honor some of the people that are working on the ground. I know myself and Commissioner Dreehouse, when I think we were state representatives, I was president of Black Caucus, we were just trying to get funding for the issue of Black infant mortality. And now we have a program with real results, thanks to Cradle Cincinnati. So over the past 11 years, Cradle Cincinnati has seen Hamilton County unite around a common goal to reduce infant mortality. In that spirit, Cradle Cincinnati launched the Champions for Change Awards to honor leaders who went the extra mile for moms and babies in our community. This year, we're thrilled to recognize 8 such champions. Because of champions like these and countless others, Hamilton County saw a record low infant mortality rate last year. There is so much work that still needs to be done, but we have come a long way together today. And we've come today to honor the hard work and progress of our community. We'd like to thank these champions for their compassion and innovation in helping moms and babies thrive. We'd like to begin by asking Cradle Cincinnati's executive director, who couldn't be with us, Lauren Everett. We want to acknowledge Dr. Meredith Smith, who could not be with us today, but Lauren Everett also, which we just had you say a few words. Would you like to say a few words about the champions? Okay, yes, please go forward. I'm reading the script.
I'm going to read the script. I am Janelle Chris. I am the coordinator for the Champions for Change. So Lauren could not be with us today, and neither could Dr. Smith. What we're going to do today, Jessica and Crystal gave a lovely blueprint of what Cradle is about and Champions of Change is about. How we're going to do this today, we would like for you all, the commissioners, to read the information about the champions. And we would like the champions to come to the podium and stand as you do the reading. And after that's done, we will then give them the awards, and we can take the pictures at that time. Okay. So we can keep it moving.
Okay.
All right?
All right. We got
Does that work?
We know how to do this.
Does that work?
All right. Well, we each have
right.
champions to read. So the first champion for better care is Darlene Garcia, nurse care manager at UC Health. Come on down. Darlene is a passionate advocate for the moms she serves. As a nurse case manager, she works alongside the highest risk patients to assure that they are understood and actively involved in their care. She also works to assure that all of her patients' needs are met. They underlined all. Darlene is smart, kind, caring, involved, and deeply cares about the women and families she works with. Darlene works with the entire Cincinnati Health Department team and many community-based teams to create a trusting relationship with the patient and to assure they have the best outcome possible. Congratulations, Darlene. Next is the Safe Sleep Champion, which is an individual working to promote safe sleep for babies in Hamilton County. Remember, alone or alone on their back and in a crib. Our safety sleep champion is Natasha Scholl, Executive Director of Charlie's Kids. As Executive Director of Charlie's Kids, a national nonprofit dedicated to the promotion of safe sleep, Natasha has been instrumental in elevating the topic of safe sleep and supporting families with their safe sleep journeys and challenges. This can be seen through her work leading the Charlie's Kids book donation program, which provides 6,000 safe sleep board books to health systems and organizations caring for families across the nation every year. In addition to that, she spearheaded a safe sleep video campaign, making relatability and accessibility animated in a video shorts on key topics in safe sleep, including how to stay awake while caring for your baby at night. That's very important. Congratulations, Natasha.
Thank you.
Next is the champion of knowledge, which is an epidemiologist, researcher, or student working to better understand the complexities of infant mortality and preterm birth. Our champion of knowledge is Brian Kegley, Senior Manager in Analytics for the Health Collaborative. Brian has been a key component in the development of Mama Certified, a new maternal equity certification program for birthing hospitals. He worked to design the back-end process by which data submitted by hospital systems is scored and determines their Mama Certified certifications. His input has been invaluable in creating a solid framework based on current research and best practices in healthcare and public health. Mama Certified took more than 3 years to develop and is a complex program. Brian was able to take the ideas of various partner groups and create a product that considered all viewpoints. His background as a nurse, coupled with his analytic skills, made him an invaluable member of the Mama Certified team. Ladies and gentlemen, congratulations, Brian. Amazing. Amazing.
Up next, we have the Community Activist Champion, a member of this community that listens, celebrates, and actively supports and nurtures their work while keeping moms at the center. Our Community Activist Champion is Jamie Ayer. I was a director of Every Child Succeed for many years, so I know about going out and seeing those moms. It's really a hard task, but a great task. Jamie is a dedicated community outreach worker who actively meets individuals where they are, providing crucial support and advocacy for moms and families. She goes above and beyond by visiting clients at their home, understanding their unique needs, and offering personalized assistance. One of her key contributions is transporting clients to their doctor's appointments, ensuring they have access to essential healthcare services. She has initiated community baby showers for moms in need, creating a joyful and supportive environment for expecting and new mothers. Her ability to connect with individuals on a personal level and her commitment to meeting their needs have made her an invaluable asset to the community. Congratulations, Jamie. Next is the Champion for Equity, an individual that recognizes and addresses the disadvantages of marginalized groups and how it leads to health disparities and maternal outcomes. This year, we have 2 awardees in this category. Our first Champion for Equity is Julietta Ladipo. Is that correct? Okay. Nurse Program Manager at All Moms Empowered to Nurse. Julietta works to create a culture of support for moms and babies through her work with All Moms Empowered to Nurse, also known as AMEN, Amen. She has helped Amen. How would you like, you want me to pronounce each letter or amen? How you like it?
Amen is fine.
Amen, I like that, okay. Is not only have a vibrant peer-to-peer breastfeeding support program, but also creates outreach opportunities to the community. As program manager, Julietta guides other breastfeeding champions ambassadors to carry out Amen's community work. She is a wonderful facilitator, making everyone feel listened to and supported in an equitable way. A busy mom herself, she keeps lots of balls in the air for her family, home, work, and breastfeeding, as well as other community-led opportunities that she's a part of. Okay, congratulations. Our Our next champion for equity is Mawusi Ashakir. Did I do that? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, good. She's the director and founder of the Mothership Institute.
Yes, ma'am.
Mawusi has been working diligently in the community for the past 20 years to bridge the minority health gap. She created a safe circle for women to heal their birth traumas and get culturally competent care. She has also trained hundreds of doulas worldwide to provide culturally competent health care in minority and low-income communities. On top of that, she teaches free childbirth education classes and provides moms with the resources they need to be successful in parenting. Mawusi has overcome a lack of funding for her business and has operated off of community support at times, but she has persevered so she can continue to do the work that she loves. Congratulations, Julietta and Mawusi.
I am pleased to now recognize our champion for healthy families, which is a community health worker or home visitor who supports families during and after pregnancy in getting the resources and information they need to raise successful and thriving children. This year we have 2 awardees in this category. Our first champion for healthy families is Queen Smith. Queen is a community health worker at Cincinnati Children's Hospital Medical Center. Queen Smith is a wonderful asset to Cincinnati Children's, working in both the clinic and in the community. In her role, she provides education to families on breastfeeding, safe sleep, and healthy development for moms and babies. Despite working with limited resources, Queen has effectively approached the issue of poverty by leveraging creative outreach and maximizing the impact of available resources. This innovative approach ensured that even with constrained resources, they could deliver meaningful aid and improve the quality of life for those affected by poverty. Congratulations, Queen.
Thank you.
Our next champion for healthy families is Simonica Spillman. Simonica is a community health worker for Mercy Health. As a certified community health worker with Mercy Health's perinatal outreach program, Sam, I guess that's your nickname, hopes to be the kind of support to families that she needed when she was a first-time mom. That mindset compelled her to complete breastfeeding and doula trainings, all in pursuit of providing the best care for moms. In fact, she even provided doulas services pro bono for 3 families this year. She repeatedly goes above and beyond to ensure that families are armed with the knowledge and resources they need to thrive. Her focus on centering moms throughout all stages of pregnancy and parenthood really sets Simonica apart. Congratulations, Simonica. So thank you again to all of the honorees. Your work is working in Hamilton County, and we're super grateful for everything that you're doing for moms and babes in this community.
Is it okay to come so we can give them the awards and we can take the pictures? Okay. All the awardees, we're going to go back there.
All right, now we will go to, we have two speakers. Mr. Nick Tolbert, is he in the hallway? Oh, there he is, I'm sorry. Mr. Nick Tolbert.
Excuse me, I gotta wake up. Um,
Wake up, your time is running.
um, what I'm gonna have to do is, I'm gonna have to really schedule a meeting with somebody here. The reason why is because we're looking to put together an indigenous people and a holistic festival every year. This festival is gonna bring more money than any celebration on the planet. Why? Because it's still done today. Halloween, Mardi Gras, Cinco de Mayo, all that was connected to the indigenous people. And they did it for a reason, because they knew that the dead wasn't dead. That's why they kept doing it. And so I'm hoping that we can put together, that you will help us put together the celebration to keep it going. Because those people back there, they knew what they was doing. They knew it would affect the people's lives that was living today. And that's why they continue to do it. And I'm hoping that one of you or all of you would join us as we put this celebration, a yearly celebration of holistic medicine and indigenous people. They have a festival out north, it'll be blocks long. If you think medicine, modern medicine is working today, you're fooling yourself. I've had 5 heart attacks and a stroke within the last year. You know how many pills I'm taking a day? Because of the indigenous people. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we've got Carrie Davis.
Good afternoon, ladies. I want to express my gratitude to the Emergency Management Office for them averting a major crisis. But at the last meeting, when you gave them the proclamation, the first thing I said to you was, there are serious lapses in our emergency management plan, and somebody needs to look into them. And then this happened, and those lapses were evident. I'm not sure what Ms. Dumas was watching, but I found the press conferences to be very unsettling when the person chairing the press conference didn't even know what styrene was 5 hours after they started dousing the tanker. That gave us an indication that sometimes our local authorities do not have the knowledge and expertise to properly manage these kind of events. And I was very disappointed to learn from the wonderful staff at the Emergency Management Office, who are very kind and generous with their time, that they have no authority. And when they are making mistakes, they have no authority to step in and correct them and fix it for the residents of Hamilton County. One of the big concerns I had was that for 3 days prior to this incident, residents were reporting the odor, the styrene leak, and nobody responded because we disregard odor complaints as crybabies. And over the weekends, we do not have anybody responding to this. And so for 3 days, we ignored residents telling them something is going on over there. It smells. And it got to the point where instead of a slow leak coming out of the vent, it became an explosive discharge of vapor. We are under Ms. Treehouse's leadership at Environmental Services. Another area where she has failed is our railroad yards are using a loophole in the law to store hazardous products on our railroad lines. There were 14 other tankers, according to the Inquirer, with styrene in it connected to that vehicle. If that vehicle had exploded, our evacuation circle should have been miles. wide. We were not prepared. We put everybody in danger because we ignored the fact that there were 14 more tankers. And if one had exploded, it would have caused a cascading impact of explosions. We are allowing the railroad industry.
I'm sorry, your time has expired. Thank you
Well,
very much for your call. Okay. Yeah, so that was the time. I want to keep everybody's time the same. Commissioner Dumas, you wanted to make a clarification point?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that my comments that I made earlier about how clear and concise was definitely related to our county employees, and they were very clear that it was styrene. So it was only about their presentation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll open up for commissioners' comments and any type of motions or resolutions. Vice President Dreehouse.
Thank you. I've got a couple things today, but the first one is I wanted to read an alert. We, HCRC and the Public Health Department, City of Cincinnati, put out an alert this morning related to overdose deaths in the county. And I wanted to read the alert to make sure that people are aware of what's happening in Hamilton County related to the overdose deaths. So ongoing surveillance of daily overdose incidents since September 20th, 24 has indicated abnormal increases in overdose-related activity. While fentanyl has long been a part of our drug landscape, the recent uptick in overdose incidents likely stems from individuals unknowingly consuming fentanyl-laced substances, using drugs alone, or failing to utilize harm reduction strategies. In light of these findings, it is critical to prioritize community education on harm reduction practices. We must emphasize the importance of avoiding solitary use, calling 911 in the event of an overdose, and recognizing that any non-prescription drug not obtained from a doctor or a pharmacy could potentially and often likely will contain fentanyl, which is a deadly drug. The Hamilton County Coroner's Office reported 10 suspected overdose deaths from September 20th through the 26th, pending toxicology information. So we have 10 reported overdose deaths in this community in the last few days. We wanted to make sure that people understood that they're likely related to fentanyl. Fentanyl is being mixed with a multitude of drugs. People are unwittingly using these drugs and dying. So we just wanted to put out the alert and make sure that people were aware of it. Public Health, thankfully, is monitoring the situation along with monitoring the situation in Whitewater Township. So they've been extremely busy, but we felt it was really important to raise the alarm in the community so that people take heed and use fentanyl test strips, don't use alone, call 911, and if you're receiving drugs illicitly, they're likely to contain fentanyl, and you could die from a fatal dose of fentanyl. So that was the first thing I wanted to put out there. Beyond that, a couple of things, and a number of us attended some events together. There's a lot going on right now. We're so busy with events. But a couple I just wanted to highlight. There was, the Valley Interfaith had the Planting Seeds Award ceremony. John Kiefer is the head of Valley Interfaith, and they are doing a lot of work related to new Americans coming into our community. They've got a food pantry, and they're helping people not only gain access to food, but also gain access to employment and housing. And so I applaud their work. There was a recognition for the work that Hamilton County is doing in that space. And so I wanted to just mention that Trevina Adams, Brian over at Compass, and Chris Harding in my office have done quite a bit of collective work with many partners to try to address some of the needs of the Mauritanian community in particular, that resides in Hamilton County. The other award ceremony that took place, and we were all three there, was the Mental Health and Recovery Services Board, and there was some recognition for the Hamilton County Addiction Response Coalition at that event. It was the Pat Tribby Award, and Pat literally started with a couple other people HCRC. And so I thought it was very fitting, and it was a great tribute to receive that award in his name, because he was one of the founders of the good work that continues today with, again, a very collective effort from many, many organizations. We all are familiar with HCRC, but I was proud to receive that on behalf of the work of HCRC, and really grateful that it was named for Pat Tribby. Couple other things. I had the opportunity to deliver a proclamation to the St. Joseph House anniversary celebration over the weekend. All three of us signed that, and they were very grateful for that honor from the county. And then lastly, there was a press conference yesterday about us launching a home repair program. This is a program that the county is funding through ARPA and CDBG dollars. It's the amount of money that we're putting towards this is $2 million. And we have partnerships with LISC, WIN, Habitat for Humanity, and Warsaw Federal to provide very low interest loans, 2% loans, to individuals in this community, those that struggle with home repairs. It can be a roof repair, it can be HVAC, it can be a number of things to help really keep people in their homes. Some people are really struggling to make those repairs, and so we are offering this very low interest loan program. And I just wanted to thank the partners who are putting the effort in to make sure people have access to the loans and getting the word out about the program. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Dumas.
Thank you. Just a few things. I participated in the CCAO Metropolitan Regional Affairs Committee meeting. It was virtual. We're looking at a platform that we want to present to the legislature for funding some of the areas where child care, youth services, as we look at the governor's plan to open up. And we talked earlier this week about budgeting for 3 new facilities within Ohio for juvenile justice systems. And I participated in the White House Office of Intergovernmental Affairs, the weekly call that they have. As was said earlier, I participated in the Hamilton County Mental Health Recovery Board annual meeting. It's always a good meeting. And so it was just good to see so many people there that work in the field. And then the 513 Relief Healthy Aging Day party at the Word of Deliverance was just awesome. Coming down the road, you couldn't hardly find a place to park, and older citizens or seasoned citizens were so grateful for what we were doing for them, and all the vendors, so many vendors, and just a fun time, education element. Agencies were there to let people know what they provide for them, and it was just a great time. I also talked to Michelle Smith, who is having a huge conference. Not as huge as she's used to do, but as it relates to faith, freedom, and life, a reentry conference, really to focus on families and what they experience when their loved ones come back from prison. And I'll be the keynote for that. So we're still working on what we want to present for that conference. I also was involved in two videos through Spectrum Television. They recognized athletes of the week, and I did 2 recordings for Loveland and Anderson. And so it was just lots of fun to do, and lots of fun to recognize those young people. And I'm also continuing to work actively with Tony Staubach in the environmental department as it relates to food waste. And specifically, my focus has been, before the Bengals started their season, to get some agreement that the food that is left over after those games, that we can utilize those and send to places that need them. We are working on that, haven't really come to a conclusion on that. Tony is working on it. We're communicating back and forth of how we can make sure to make that happen. Every game that goes past and we are not able to use that food, I'm not very happy about it, and Tony isn't either. He's a great advocate. And I'm also waiting for strategies to end homelessness, to give me a report, or the board a report of, say, from January to July. What have you done with the money? What have your partners done with the money? And I need to see it in writing. We had talked about possibly having Kevin Finn come in, but before he comes in, I'd like to see something in writing so I can have questions prepared for him when he comes in. And that will do it for me.
Thank you. Certainly have also been very busy and delivered remarks at the Hometown Heroes celebration honoring our local Olympians who represented our country and won. Many of them won gold and bronze and silver medals. And so we had a celebration at Fountain Square that was put together by Vice Mayor Jan Michelle Lemon Kearney. I was happy to join that and give a word of encouragement on behalf of Hamilton County. Also was mentioned about the Mental Health Recovery Service Board. I was pleased to be the keynote speaker and honored to be the keynote speaker at that luncheon on last Friday. I want to thank President Lenore Godfrey for inviting me to be the keynote. Also presented a proclamation and spoke in celebration of the Hamilton County Community Action Agency's 60th anniversary, 60 years from the late Mayor Ted Berry, Theodore M. Berry, who created this concept with President Johnson, and something that would still be around the country and all the people they helped. So I was very happy to be a part of that. In addition to that was the Women's Day speaker at Union Baptist Church. Was thankful for that invitation and everyone that came out to Union Baptist. I want to thank Angelita Moreno-Jones, head of the trustee board there, that invited me to be the keynote speaker along with the great Pastor Yates down there. In addition to that, we had Forbes come in, the under 30 summit. It took place at the Andrew Brady Center, Music Center, right next to the Cincinnati Black Music Walk of Fame. And I was happy to give a founder's tour to Forbes and Black, a lot of folks that came in, and the CEO, Mike Felderly, who went on to say that he has not seen anything like this in the country. So was happy to do that. I also was at the Forest Park, the Healthy Aging Day in Forest Park. Now, I'm very excited about all the work that the 513 Relief Bus has been able to do. And each of us up here have innovative initiatives that we have put forward. And I'm very proud to have put this idea forward that's gone from an idea to helping over 20,000 citizens. And the goal is that we have taxpayers throughout Hamilton County who are here, who are citizens of Hamilton County, who have paid taxes but hit a rough spot. And we have programs, we have a lot of things that we vote on, but making sure now that we take it out to the community instead of them trying to come downtown and call 1-800 numbers and try to find it. We have medical services on the backside that provides at no copay cost. We have blood pressure checks. We have now diabetes checks. We now have the diabetes cups that we are providing to people. We also have cancer checks. There's some new checks now that we could do cancer right on the bus. Prostate cancer, men, don't get afraid. There's a new thing out here now. They do it, just take your blood now, and I think on your fingertip. So all of these things that we are rolling out, I'm very excited about. And then one of the things I said, why don't we have specialized days? So we're out on a regular, but some specialized days that we can really hone in. And we've done it for youth employment, where 1,000 youth showed up for employment and got physicals on the bus at no cost and signed up for jobs. We've had it for people with disability, Disability Day. Many people don't know how to apply for the disability help. We had a big day, and we had a lot of people there, and our bus is accessible. So we're very proud of that. We had hundreds of people for that. We also had the Healthy Aging Day, and that was just a great thing. At the Word of Deliverance, and myself and Commissioner Dumas was there, and it was hundreds of seniors. Now, this was important because we're living in a time where people are preying on seniors. They'll call you with some kind of scam, some kind of fraud. You don't know who to trust. But the seniors could come there because of our partnership with Council on Aging, and all the different partners were right there. So you know it was real, you know it was legitimate, and they were able to get help. Someone told me they sent their grandfather over there who needed some help, and the grandfather called and said, "Thank you. I was able to get help. The people were nice, and I feel so much better now." So they also had line dancing, a lot of fun. But I want to give a shout out to the Food for the Soul, because they're taking, as was mentioned, taking food that was waste food that people are, wasting, and they're repurposing that food, and they done turn that food into collard greens, cornbread, macaroni and cheese. I said, oh Lord, they had a great meal yesterday. And then you saw the Forest Park firefighter, he was DJing. So it was all community engagement. And so I want to thank Council on Aging and all the partners, and Trevina and all of our staff, Trevina Adams and all of our staff here for making it come to fruition. So that was another positive thing. 79 service providers at one stop where people could get help. So that was just amazing. I apologize, coming from Forest Park to downtown is tough, especially we got hundreds of seniors, and so I wasn't able to make the LISC press conference, but certainly support that program and the other LISC program that is a grant program that is also for seniors. So I want to give a shout out to LISC and all the partners at Warsaw Bank and all that they're doing. In addition to that, speaking of the bus, stay right on the bus. I just came from Springdale. That's why I was running 100 miles an hour to get in here, because our bus is out in Springdale, and we're there for their health fair. They also had the mammography bus and a lot of things. But Mayor Hawkins showed up, and he had never seen the bus and wanted to get a tour of it and said, man, this is amazing. And so he brought some people with him that needed some assistance, and they were getting assistance as I was leaving to run down here for our session. So shout out to Springdale, they'll be there. I think they're wrapping up, but they were out in Springdale. So the bus goes all over the county, it's county-wide. So I'm very pleased about that. Also, yesterday I presented a proclamation at Easter Seals Redwood, and I was super excited about it. I was there for the kickoff of the concept, but then to be there for their grand opening of the first ever in the region Military Veterans Center. There's nothing like it. And they've gotten it up and going. It's in Walnut Hills. Veterans can go there and get help right away, can get connected with jobs right away. And I was just so pleased to be there and see the finished product. And all of those who did the private funding to pull it together. And I know Kroger's, the CEO Kroger's was there. A lot of folks were there. But all the work that Easter Seals Redwood does is it's the real deal. So I was happy to be a part of that. I think that is, I'm trying to find out, it's so much as they've indicated. I don't think social media can keep up with our schedules, our real life schedules. But those are the things that I wanted to highlight that I've been able to participate in the last week. So with that, Mr. Ludo, I'll open it up to you.
No real comments today, commissioners, other than just there was a question about strategies to end homelessness. I think we have them on the agenda for October, and they are planning on submitting something in advance. So I will get that to the board prior to their formal presentation. I do have a few by-leave items today. The first is an MSD item that the board's been updated on in the past this year that relates to the early work packages for the Little Miami wastewater treatment plant, the anaerobic digestion facility out there. I believe MSD is here, is happy to present this item. This is one of those early work packages. and I'll defer to MSD to walk the board through it in a little bit more detail.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Lauren DiGarcia with MSD. I have Deputy Director Ryan Welsh with me today, the Chief Engineer on this project. Like Administrator Aludo said, this is for MSD's Little Miami Wastewater Treatment Plant Solids Handling and Odor Control Project. This is a request for partial construction funding in the amount of $13,087,072. This requested funding will be used for an early work package to begin on-site construction work. This will include site setup, earthwork, excavation, and off-site soil disposal. Just as background on this project overall, it will upgrade solids handling by installing an anaerobic digester system to convert wastewater solids that are currently landfilled into instead high-quality biosolids and sustainable biogas for beneficial reuse, as well as upgrading the solids processing facilities and, of course, odor control. Request approval and can answer any questions.
Thank you. I guess I have a question. Why is this a buy leave? I mean, I know it's the same process we got now, but why is this coming?
I think there is a timing issue associated with the Inflation Reduction Act grant or program through the federal government. So there is an incentive associated with this, that there is a timing issue on. So in order to get that incentive and to reduce the cost of the project, that was the necessity of this coming forward as a buy leave.
Okay, I'll open up Vice President Trios. Commissioner Dumas.
Well, I was just interested in, it says revised general plan, so the numbers are different. What was the numbers before the 13 million?
So this is just an additional construction request, so we submit that legislation every single time to revise it, and then it's an additional amount to be appropriate.
So the numbers are the same, 13 million as it was before?
I believe that is around what we anticipated. This third request would be, yes.
What does that mean? That's what I needed then. Okay. The total didn't change.
Correct.
That's what you're
and
doing.
just to explain, we've come twice before with a request. We have our third request today, and we will be bringing a request forward end of the year, early next year for the remaining balance for construction.
Thank you. That's all I have.
I guess I'm trying to find out, how does this tie into the Inflation Reduction Act? Are we getting some money for this, or what are we doing?
And Lauren, I don't know if you want to go a little bit more into that. There is some financing through the Inflation Reduction Act that this takes advantage of. So I don't know if you can go into a little more detail on that.
It's extremely nuanced, but just in general, high
Well,
level.
nuance, I guess the thing I want to know, does it reduce our cost?
It's a tax credit, so, and that's what we are endeavoring, like you referred to, there's a lot of stringent requirements and timelines involved, but we are trying to set ourselves up to, once this project is completed, apply for a tax credit to receive and ultimately reimburse ourselves for the money we've put forward for this project.
You're right.
So it's a reimbursable. I guess now does this
In
fall
part,
under the
allowed in
green?
part, not the entire cost, but in part.
How much do we
It's
possibly, we're rushing it, I want to know how much.
right. I mean, it's difficult to know, but we are looking at, due to the large size of this project, potentially tens of millions of dollars in a tax credit.
What is it in percentage, you saying? 10%, 5%, 2%?
It depends on what we qualify for. I believe we're estimating approximately 30%, Ryan.
30 to 40. You got to get on the microphone and they need to see your face. When they say, who said it? I want to say, here he is.
Yes, hello commissioners. There are a lot of requirements and we can be eligible for 30 to 40% reimbursement if we meet, depending on the targets that we meet, of the eligible costs. So the entire $90 million construction is not eligible, but a portion of that is, and we're obviously trying to maximize that. So we estimate somewhere in the range of up to $50 million will come back to us after the project is completed and the county files this tax return. It's supposed to get a check from the federal government.
What's the timetable on that? Is that a 1 year, 2 year, 5 year?
Construction will be complete in 2028, and then the year after that, the county will be able to file the tax return.
Will that still be in place, or does it change? Or is this solid?
It's solid as long as we can get started before the end of the year. And this is the third time we've been here on this project, and there are 3 paths to qualifying. This is the third way. This is actually going to start the on-site construction before the end of the calendar year. We have 2 other paths to achieve compliance that are in the works. They have to do with repurchasing equipment and starting the work offsite to qualify.
Okay, great. And Mr. Ludo, is this part of the green?
So the Inflation Reduction Act is one of those federal programs that is out there that has, the act itself just has a huge number of components to it, but this is one of those components that relates to environmental green project type implementation, yes.
I just want to say it's positive. I see a government entity coming in trying to get into what we were talking about, the green, and it seems to be working. Commissioner Dumas, you had something? Okay, well, I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. By leave 2 is a budget adjustment number 34. This relates to a $70,280 transfer within our state QRT grant. That grant expires at the end of September, so this grant is being apportioned into our QRT contract lines in order to get that funding spent by the grant deadline.
Okay, open it up, Vice President Treehouse.
No questions.
Okay, well, I make a motion to approve by leave 2.
Second.
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse. Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. And by leave 3 is a resolution considering and approving the fact finders report in the State Employment Relations Board case 2023 MEDL, 111071 regarding the corrections officers in the Sheriff's Office. The administration recommends approval.
Okay. Vice President Treehouse.
No questions.
Commissioner Dumas.
No questions.
Okay, I move to approve by leave 3.
Second.
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse. Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. No further by leaves.
Okay, no further by leaves. We go to Mr. Engineer.
Good afternoon. Just 2 items in front of you today. Item number 1 is a resolution approving and authorizing the county engineer to provide funds for the township. We have 4 projects this year, township projects that have been approved. Delhi Township in the amount of $17,830. Green Township in the amount of $41,210. Harrison Township, $8,083. And Miami Township for $32,501. This is the 20% of the county's 70% license plate fee that we commit to the townships. We do a rating of the projects, they submit them, and we generally approve all the ones that we get. So this will all come out of the permissive auto funds, and that's total of $99,624. Item number 2 is a resolution to put Old Kellogg Road Bridge Deck Replacement, Project 502118, out to bid. This is located in Anderson Township. We have a bid opening date of October 24th. The engineer's estimate is $1,023,000, with 100% of the funding coming out of permissive auto funds.
All right. I'll open up Vice President Treehouse. Any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Dumas.
No questions.
Okay, I make a motion to approve items 1 and 2.
Second.
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Ludo, we got the consent agenda.
Thank you, Commissioners. The consent agenda, actually, the first 2 are appointments. I didn't know if, Madam President, I'll defer to you if that's something you would like to walk through. I'm happy to do it.
Oh, yeah, well, item numbers 3 and 4 are appointments. 1 to the Mental Health and Recovery Service Board. And the second one, number 4, is the Elderly Service Program. I want to thank everybody who's willing to serve on these boards. We really appreciate it. I will open it up, Vice President Treehouse.
Yeah, I want to thank the folks that are willing to serve on both of these boards. Thanks for their service.
Commissioner Dumas.
Just really excited that we're finally filling these boards, and I want to thank Leslie and Christy who have taken over that responsibility of commissions and boards and making sure that we know who the applicants are, and so we're filling them up, and I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, awesome. Yep. All righty. Well, I make a motion to approve items 3 and 4.
Second.
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. Item number 5 is a resolution appropriating some of our federal fiscal year grants that begin in October. for the amount of $1.203 million. That is in the Environmental Services, EMA, and the Coroner's Office. Item number 6 is the resolution we do annually in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code to defray Memorial Day expenses for participating agencies in the amount of $6,300. Item number 7 is a budget adjustment for some of our restricted funds in the Coroner's Office, DDS, the Clerk of Courts, Coroner, and Juvenile Court. The largest number here relates to Developmental Disability Services at $4.5 million. This relates to an increase in provider costs and an increase in waivers, as was discussed with the board back during the levy conversation period. So that's consistent with that conversation. Item number 8 is a resolution authorizing the purchase of a Chevrolet Tahoe as a replacement in the Coroner's Office at $63,635. Item 9 is a purchase of a 2024 Ford F-550 dump truck as a replacement in the Engineer's Office, $65,860. Item number 10 is a resolution purchasing a 2024 F-350 truck as a replacement in the Engineers Department, $49,475. Item number 11 is a resolution accepting sales tax on receipts for the Hamilton County Engineer for two receipts at $35.97. Item number 12 is a resolution authorizing a joint agreement between the board and the Village of St. Bernard. This relates to the Community Revitalization Grant that we have in St. Bernard. This is $200,000. This is for redevelopment of the former St. Bernard Shopping Center. Item 13 is a resolution authorizing an agreement with St. Francis Seraph Catholic Church School and Ministries. This is for a solid waste district recycling grant for recycling containers and materials for the Catholic school and its ministries. Item number 14 is a resolution approving the 2025 County Employee Benefits Program, all the different layers of benefits for the county for 2025. Item number 15 is a resolution authorizing a renewal with DeMar Services for residential treatment services and JFS for $750,000. Item 16 is authorizing renewal 2 of an amendment to an agreement with Cornell Abraxas and the Board of County Commissioners through Job and Family Services for residential treatment services at $300,000. Item 17 is travel requests. This requests authorization to travel for 3 individuals from the Coroner's Office to Denver, Colorado, 1 employee from the Coroner's Office to Kansas City, Missouri. And that completes the consent agenda, Commissioners.
Thank you very much. Item number 12, I just wanted to highlight the Community Revitalization Grant, and certainly happy to support that, and the Village of St. Bernard certainly needs it in terms of what they're doing to revitalize that area. So I just wanted to say I was happy to see that on here. But I open it up, Vice President Driehaus.
I too was going to shout out to item number 12, particularly in the context of the upcoming budget, which is where we have the conversation about funding this program. And so we've started it a couple years ago, or rather I think it was 3 years ago. And so I am delighted that St. Bernard is benefiting from these dollars, as have many other communities, and hope that the grant survives as we proceed through the budget process.
Thank you. Commissioner Dumas?
Thank you. I'd like to speak about item 6. It's a small amount, $6,300, but I would like to ask Jeff, it took 4 months to defray these expenses. Is this an individual's expense, or is this the county's expense? And why does it take so long to deal with that Memorial Day expense?
Commissioner, so there is a set period of time under the Ohio Revised Code through which different American Legion posts and different veterans organizations can apply for up to $500 to defer those organizational expenses for Memorial Day. They have up to a certain amount of time, so I can follow up on why we're bringing these all forward at this point in time, but I don't have any more information on it than that at this point.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And then item 8 and 9, just a general question. I noticed that there was a purchase on item 9, a purchase of a dump truck replacement vehicle for $65,000. And then item 8, a Tahoe for $63,000 as a replacement. So my question is, the replacing the vehicle that we used to trade in, was the item 80-something thousand and we ended up paying $63,000? How much do we trade in our vehicles? And then
We do typically. I think Jill is on the line. Jill, do you have specifics on these particular vehicle purchases?
Yes, I do. For the engineers, they are auctioning their trade-in, so that we'll get the money back at a different time for that.
Okay.
For the coroners, they're taking it off of the vehicle price.
For the corner, they're taking it off the vehicle price?
Right, like so the trade-in would come off of the initial vehicle price.
Okay, so does that mean that, let's see, not the dump truck, but the Tahoe was more than 63,000? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Correct. It was 67,135, and then they had a $3,500 trade-in to make it 63,635.
Okay. All righty. And I know
It is
that-
out of the coroner's restricted fund. I'm not sure if that makes a difference or not.
Yeah,
But yes, the vehicle pricing is very high lately.
okay. And I know dump trucks are really expensive, so you got a good deal on that, seems like.
That's just the chassis. That's not the battery.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Now it comes out.
Okay, and then I'm going to look at one other. 17, travel. And this specific department does a lot of traveling in my estimation. And when I asked about it several months ago, maybe last year, I was told that there's a list of mandated trainings that they have to go to. And normally I would just like to see the list of mandated trainings. They are going to on a lot of trips, a lot of travel. I could kind of look at the small things that add up to big things. So if I can find that out, that would be great. Is that a yes?
Yes, we will absolutely get that, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you. And I think that'll do it for me.
All righty. Thank you. All right, I make a motion to approve and accept for the record items 5 through 17.
Second.
Commissioner Reese?
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.
Okay, I make a motion to
I have
go
one
on.
other thing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have one quick announcement before we end the meeting. I have a new intern in my office. She's in the building here. She's in the room. Maisie Green is here from the University of Cincinnati. I just want to welcome her for her time here at the county. Thanks for being willing to join the team for a number of months here. Thanks, Maisie.
Welcome.
Can I comment on that?
Yes, Commissioner.
I got an email from LinkedIn, and they were looking at my resume and all that, and they said that they thought I would be a good candidate to be an intern for your office.
Oh, anytime, Commissioner.
Now we know the message is getting out there.
Right.
So Frankie's doing a good job, Frankie. Posting these things. Okay, I make a motion to go to executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 12122G4 to discuss collective bargaining.
Second.
Commissioner Reese?
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.